Hello and welcome to the viewers of this video. This is the Orange Fan here, bringing you another entry for the franchise discussion category. This video will be dedicated to the recap and thoughts for issue 1 of the Young Justice tie-in comics, Haunted. We begin this issue at Mount Justice on July 8th, with a scene that also appeared in Fireworks, the second episode of the TV series. To be more specific, it's the scene where Robin, Aqualad, Kid Flash, and Superboy meet Miss Martian and find out that Miss Martian will also be a member of the Young Justice team. After these introductions, many of the heroes return to their respective homes, and Batman tells Superboy to stay put because Red Tornado will be leaving in a little while. Likewise, Miss Martian will be leaving in a little while with her uncle, Martian Manhunter, because the two of them are going to get Miss Martian's belongings, because Miss Martian and Superboy will be the two members of the Young Justice team that will actually live at Mount Justice. Red Tornado will also be staying at Mount Justice as the supervisor. At Kid Flash's suggestion, Superboy and Miss Martian go to check out the rooms within the cave of Mount Justice so that they can pick out their own rooms. Superboy ends up picking a storage room that's about as big as a closet rather than an actual room. After they've picked out their rooms, Miss Martian and Martian Manhunter leave to get Miss Martian's belongings, and Red Tornado is about to prepare for his departure as well. Red Tornado is going to go to the Hall of Justice to get some encrypted programming in order to update the computers at Mount Justice. Superboy comments that there must be a lot of history with Mount Justice, and Red Tornado confirms this, mentioning that while the Hall of Justice is the current base of operations for the Justice League, Mount Justice was the original base of operations for the Justice League back when the Justice League first formed. After this little history lesson, Red Tornado makes his departure for the Hall of Justice, and Superboy thinks over what Red Tornado said, and he also thinks back to the events of the first two episodes, how he met Robin, Aqualad, and Kid Flash, and how their actions at Cadmus had led to the formation of the Young Justice team. While thinking this over, Superboy starts to doze off. He eventually wakes up, but he hears some laughter and he hears some footsteps throughout the cave. Superboy goes to investigate, and he sees a boy who calls himself Snapper, and Snapper's trying to get a hold of the Justice League, but for some reason Snapper keeps disappearing and reappearing, and while at first it seems like Snapper is reacting to Superboy, later on evidence seems to suggest that Snapper doesn't see Superboy or notice Superboy's presence for one reason or another. Eventually, though, Snapper sees the other individual that's in the cave, the one who's been doing the laughing earlier, and Snapper becomes unconscious when the intruder uses tranquilizer darts, uses tranquilizer darts to knock Snapper out. Tranquilizer darts hit Superboy as well, but Superboy is unaffected. But then the intruder hits Superboy on the back of his head to knock him out. But Superboy does see the face of the intruder before he loses consciousness. And the intruder is none other than the Joker. And that's how we end this issue. So this issue is the first one this issue is the start of the multi-part stories within the tie-in comics. I mentioned that before. Stopover was really the only issue of the tie-in comics that was a standalone issue or a standalone story. This story in particular is a two-parter, with this issue, issue 1, being part 1. And Superboy gets to be the main focus of this issue, like he was in the previous issue, although he shared the spotlight position with Kid Flash in Stopover. And this reminded me of how Superboy was the one character who appeared in every episode of Season 1 of the TV series. His perfect attendance record was eventually broken in Season 2. And thinking back on it, I guess Superboy might have been the character who appeared in every episode, because Superboy was starting to get to know the world outside of Cadmus, outside of his pod in Cadmus. Like, he knew about Earth and its various locations through the xenomorphs and the information they supplied him while he was in his pod, but he never actually got to experience the world outside of Cadmus for himself before the events of the TV series. So I guess you could say in some ways Superboy could be seen as sort of the audience surrogate, at least in the sense that Superboy was learning about the Earth-16 universe the way the audience was learning about the Earth-16 universe while first watching Season 1 of Young Justice. So I think that might be the reason why Superboy's getting quite a bit of prominence in these early issues of the tie-in comics. And similar to the episode Welcome to Happy Harbor, we do get a little history lesson about Mount Justice and how it was the original base of operations for the Justice League. But in Welcome to Happy Harbor, it was mentioned that there was a certain incident that led to the Justice League abandoning Mount Justice. And yes, as the ending of this issue indicates, and as we'll see in the next issue, Superboy is going to learn about what this incident is, and we, the audience, will be learning about this incident as well. And it has something to do with Joker, as revealed at the end of this issue. And otherwise, yeah, there isn't really a whole lot else to talk about with this particular issue, but we did get a little bit of we did get to see how Miss Martian and Superboy picked out their rooms at Mount Justice, and now that I think about it, I don't believe the TV series actually showed Superboy's room, so we did end up finding out through this issue that Superboy decided to stay in a storage room, which is about the size of a closet, which matches up with what was shown in Stopover, where Superboy ended up sleeping while standing upright in Kid Flash's closet rather than sleeping in a bed. Now, does Superboy ever go into an actual room? Does he ever actually sleep in a bed later on? Who's to say? But it is interesting how they touched up on that little detail. Again, it's not really essential for the story, but it was a nice detail that they added all the same. And otherwise, part 2 of this story is the real meat of the story. So we'll go into more details about this story in the next recap and thoughts video for the next issue, for issue 2. But otherwise, there we go. As of this video, we've now discussed issue 1 of the Young Justice tie-in comics on this channel. Take care, and until next time,